Good morning, security gang. Happy Thursday and welcome back to the show. How's everyone doing today? Listen, I hope you're ready for a big Thursday because we've got a lot to talk about. And guess what? The AI buzzword is going to be all over the show today. All over it. I mean, all over it. Everywhere. Just AI. We were getting ready for the show this morning, and it was really funny because whenever I get ready for a Thursday show, which I know is kind of like our last show of the week, and it really kind of sets up my thought process towards if and how I write an article for Saturday. And today we're going to talk AI, and I guess you already know what I'm going to talk about on Saturday morning. So AI. Tune in. For those who don't know, my name is James Azar. I'm a cybersecurity practitioner, chief information security officer. Thank you all for tuning in. Episode 970. 30 more episodes. We're at 1,000. 30 more, which means I believe that was October when we'll hit that. Because we do 4 shows a week. So that's pretty end of October, early November. We'll be hitting episode 1,000 for this show. So, looking at that this morning, I was going like, I've been doing this for 1,000 episodes almost. Whew. With that being said, coffee cup cheers, y'all. If you haven't subscribed, shared, liked, or commented, please do so right now. Let me know what you're drinking. That was a perfect double espresso, although it's running a little bit late, so it's really hard to burn my tongue a bit. All right, let's start with AI. Because like I said, there's a lot of AI on today's show. So those who don't know, the NX build is an open source technology agnostic build platform that does allow developers to manage code bases at scale. A newly uncovered supply chain attack dubbed Singularity, where attackers stole an NX NPM token, allowing them to publish malicious versions of the package to the registry. At the root of the attack was a vulnerable workflow that was introduced by the maintainers on August 21st. That vulnerable workflow allowed for a code injection scenario. Although the bug was reverted in the master branch almost immediately after found maliciously exploited, the threat actor used it in a pull request to fork to the NRWL-NX repository, targeting an outdated branch to trigger the issue and steal a GitHub token that was read-write repository permission. That token was then used to trigger the publish.yml workflow, which contained the NPM token used to publish multiple malicious versions of NX and supporting plugin packages. Users of the NX Cancel IDE extension were also affected, even if they didn't have workspaces using NX. And so on August 26th, between 6:32 p.m. and 8:37 p.m. Eastern, 8 malicious NX iterations were published. They were removed at 10:44, and all NPM tokens with permissions for publishing were revoked at 11:57 p.m. See that timeline? I mean, those for the maintainers and for the folks using this, those must have been really stressful 6 hours. I don't want to imagine the kind of stuff they went through in those 6 hours. Hours later, a post was published saying all NPM packages under NX have been set to require MFA and cannot be published with NPM tokens any longer. All NPM packages have also been changed to use the new trusted publisher mechanism, which does not utilize NPM tokens. So this impacted a whole bunch of versions. We'll have those available on cyberhubpodcast.com. The payload was designed to systematically search the systems for sensitive files and environment variables containing SSH keys, NPM tokens, GitHub tokens, API keys, and crypto wallet data. So there's that. But this marks the first known case where attackers have actually turned developer AI assistance into tools for supply chain exploitation. And the code was designed to weaponize AI tools like Claude and Gemini to actually help with reconnaissance and data exfiltration, showing you just how easy that is. The attackers did manage to exfiltrate 2,349 distinct secrets to 1,079 repositories identified on August 27th. At the peak of the attack, almost 1,400 such repositories were publicly accessible with this thing. And again, showing you just how AI is being utilized by our adversaries. But that's not all. A criminal using a popular AI chatbot to run a cyber criminal operation that weaponized AI, deploying Claude AI code not just as a co-pilot, but the driver of the entire attack chain. The campaign detailed in Anthropic's AI August Threat Intelligence report, where an attacker leveraged Claude code, Anthropic's AI coding agent, to run strike operations against 17 distinct organizations in sectors like healthcare, emergency services, government, and even religious institutions. This wasn't a typical ransomware blitz. It was orchestrated AI-driven extortion campaigns with strategic and automated execution. They didn't encrypt the data. The attacker threatened to publicly expose stolen information, sometimes demanding ransom payments exceeding $500,000 US. Anthropic dubs this approach vibe hacking, and it's a paradigm shift because the AI agent handled reconnaissance, credential harvesting, penetration, ransom calculation, and even the design of psychology-tailored extortion messages, all with very little human intervention. Claude Code scanned thousands of VPN endpoints, identified vulnerable hosts, initiated network intrusions. The AI even collected, profile, and prioritize extractable data, including personal, financial, and medical records of the victim organizations. Claude then analyzed stolen financial data sets to determine optimal ransom levels. It designed extortion documents with visually alarming HTML visuals that were integrated directly into the victim machines. The Anthropic notes that this marks a fundamental shift. AI is no longer a support tool, but soon becoming a standalone attacker capable of running multi-stage cyber campaigns. So again, just showing you how AI is being used. This is Claude, folks. I use Claude religiously, right? Like, I don't know about you. Like, tell me what GPT you use in the comments. Like, what's your go-to? But they're powering these GPTs to do specific actions. Now, they powered Claude in a way that's articulated in the Anthropic, where Anthropic didn't really pick it up because it was like separate bots essentially running all circular one to the other, and none of it seemed malicious until it all kind of came together, right? And that's one of the ways to fool chatbots. I mean, I'll give you an example. I have a VPN on one of my computers, and the VPN wouldn't allow me to access specific AI tools I wanted to use or other stuff. And so what I ended up doing is I ended up using AI to generate a way to just get the VPN to constantly refresh and never connect. And then I was able to do whatever I wanted on the laptop. So just to kind of understand, like, AI did that. I mean, I did responsible reporting and shared all the code base with the VPN company, just to let them know how I did it so that they can actually work on finding a fix for it. But I'm not a technical. I never started as a red teamer, right? Never in my life. If you would have sat down and talked to me 5 years ago and said, James, one day you'd be able to red team using AI, I'd be like, no way. Today, totally doable. Totally doable. And I didn't have AI do anything malicious. It was just proper prompting and then organizing that data and putting it all together. It's simple. We continue on the AI theme this morning with more phishing campaigns deploying ConnectWise Screen Connect for remote control. That's demonstrating the sophistication, extent, and danger of AI supercharged social engineering. We kind of talked about it yesterday on the show, the day before on the show, that what's happening around social engineering and cyber awareness is a completely different level. There are some campaigns that I've been privy to that I've seen from law enforcement that blew my mind at how well they seemed, at how well they deployed them, and how well it all came together. There was no way you wouldn't recognize it. Just yesterday, we talked on the show of how they're social engineering companies through the contact us page on the website, right? And using AI, having a chatbot in the email, having the chatbot actually run the conversation, all seeming professional, and then dropping a zip file that really has malware on it, and it operates on the back end. All of this is happening. Well, this specific attack highlights a primary aspect of modern criminality: AI enhanced, scaled, sophisticated social engineering, all in the use of trust and stealth to deceive security controls in a professionalized crime as a service ecosphere. The current Screen Connect campaign differs in their attack details, but all conform to the basic process: a phishing attack leading to the deployment of Screen Connect to allow remote access and potential control of the victim organizations. Researchers found more than 900 targeted enterprises around the world. Think of the scale of that. The change in AI isn't just in how these campaigns are put together, but in the scale of deployment. And I want you to go back to like WannaCry and NotPetya and kind of how with the sun, as computers were getting turned on, we saw the scale of that attack. And that was really the last organized type of attack that kind of followed the sun as the sun kind of, you know, rose. So did the ransomware impact rise as well. Well, AI allows to do just that at unbelievable scale. And as defenders, as practitioners, we've talked about three different AI use cases here. This comes down to a specific defense in depth strategy. And really, probably 90% of the tools we need in order to create resiliency around these types of attacks already exist. It's just a matter of deep diving with our teams, putting together these solutions and taking them from there. And specifically, here's what this means. It means kind of looking at this from a approach of, all right, how do we look at this kind of stuff from the perimeter? Is there anything that we can do to kind of hit this at the perimeter? Then how do we put a lot of focus on the human side of it, right? So we have so many eyes on our inboxes and in our emails, right? If you're using the Microsoft suite, you may have one or two or three different products beyond Defender for email activated on your E5 license, but now becomes the idea of which one actually has the better efficacy and how do we test for it. Additionally, it goes along a lot of rule setting in your SASE environment. So being able to identify actual domains to spoofed domains coming into your inbox or anything going through your environment. And then there's the user behavior analytics side of the house, which a lot of people don't like, a lot of people don't agree with. I actually believe it does have it. It's not going to solve your problems, but it may help you identify an attack before or while it's actually happening and reduce the impact of said event. So all of those have to come together simultaneously. That's what we're seeing with these AI attacks today, folks. That's something really, really important to pay attention to. The tools already exist, whether, it doesn't matter what shop you are, it doesn't matter what tools, the tools already exist. I moderate the webinars on behalf of the Hacker News, something I don't often talk about here on the show. But if you've ever tuned into one of the Hacker News webinars, you've obviously seen my face as the moderator. And what I've seen over the last probably 6 to 7 months by moderating these Hacker News webinars around AI and what a lot of these security partners are coming up with, the existing tools are there. They've already built the tool set to recognize a lot of this. All you have to do is just turn it on. So it's there. So take advantage of it. You don't need to go buy something brand new to defend against this. You've really got to maximize the value of everything you have within your ecosystem. So go check that out. All right. We'll move to some really cyber attack news here. This one in Sweden, where I think this is Milio Data, which is an IT system supplier for 80% of Sweden's municipal systems, is causing accessibility problems in more than 200 regions in the country. Apparently, the company is a Swedish software company that develops and provides work environments and HR management systems for municipalities, regions, and organizations. The attack occurred over the weekend, with CEO Eric Hallan confirming on August 25th that more than 200 municipalities in Sweden have been impacted. There is an extortion attempt here of 1.5 Bitcoins to not leak the stolen data, which may have sensitive data in it. Bleepy Computer was able to find the announcement of the incident of Holland region and Gotland region, warning citizens that sensitive data may have been leaked. Other municipality reported as impacted by Swedish media are all over. I'm not going to try to say the name. I would never get, my Swedish accent is horrible. So we have that there. We move to a threat activity cluster known as ShadowSilk, being attributed to a fresh set of attack targeting government entities in Central Asia and APAC. According to Group IB, based out of Singapore, nearly 3 dozen victims have been identified with intrusions mainly geared towards data exfiltration. The group shares toolsets and infrastructure overlaps with campaign undertaken by threat actors dubbed as Euro Trooper or Silent Links. Victims of the group's campaign span in Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Myanmar, Tajikistan, Pakistan, and Turkmenistan. Majority are government organizations and, to a lesser extent, entities in energy, manufacturing, retail, and transportation. The operation is run by a bilingual crew, so Russian-speaking developers tied to legacy Eurotrooper code and Chinese-speaking operators spearheading intrusions. Again, the discombobulation of cyber criminality the idea that the Chinese and the Russians collaborate is very, very true. I've said it. I said it when SolarWinds took place. I said it when other supply chain attacks have taken, where everyone kind of points to the Russians and I go, Chinese were a part of it as well. We now kind of have both of those. We're kind of seeing how they operate together here. Eurotrooper was first documented by Cisco Talos in March of 2023, detailing attacks targeting government, energy, and international organizations across Europe since at least June of 2022. ESET says they were active even before that. And again, 2022, the year in February, is when Russia invaded Ukraine. So a lot of this activity actually goes there. The threat actors also employs public exploits for Drupal and WordPress automatic WordPress plugins, alongside leveraging a diverse toolkit, compromising reconnaissance, penetration testing tools like FOFA, FSCAN, GoBuster, DirSearch, Metasploit, and Cobalt Strike. So something to keep in mind there to identify these types of attacks, especially if you operate in that part of the world. Allied spy agencies are blaming 3 Chinese tech companies for the Salt Typhoon attacks that has taken place against the U.S. and its allies. The campaign came to light last year after threat actors intercepted the correspondence for senior officials with both presidential campaigns, intercepting communications for, at the time, President-elect Donald J. Trump, current president of the United States, and the current Vice President J.D. Vance. They also targeted the Harris campaign at the time. They're now blaming 3 companies in China, and this is coming with 13 countries essentially co-sealing the announcement that came from the US, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, UK, Czech Republic, Finland, Germany, Italy, Japan, Netherlands, Poland, and Spain. The 3 companies are Yuan Tai Kwang Information Technology Co., Sichuan Xingqing Ruji Network Technology, and Sichuan Juxinei Network Technology. I don't know. Those are the names. One of which was sanctioned by the US back in January of providing cyber-related products and services to China's intelligence services, including multiple units in the People's Liberation Army and Ministry of State Security. The list of vulnerabilities included in the advisory is CVE 2024-21887 and CVE 2024-3400, which was a zero-day discovered in Palo Alto's VPN product last year. The advisory comes as Brett Leatherman, the top cyber official at the FBI, telling the Wall Street Journal that more than 80 countries were impacted by Salt Typhoon targeting telecom providers, showing just the global reach of this campaign. Microsoft warning that threat actor they track, a Storm 0501, is evolving its operation, shifting away from encrypting devices with ransomware to focusing on cloud-based encryption, data theft, and extortion. The attackers now abuse native cloud features to exfiltrate data, wipe backups, destroy storage accounts, and applying pressure and extorting victims without deploying traditional ransomware encryption tools. Storm 0501 is a threat actor that we've been following here on the show since 2021. So has Microsoft. It's deployed the Sabbath ransomware and attacks against organizations worldwide. Over time, they've joined ransomware as a service platform like Hive, Black Cat, Hunters International, Lockbit, and more recently Embargo. In September of 24, Microsoft detailed how they've extended their operation in a hybrid cloud environments, pivoting from compromised Active Directory to Entra ID tenants. During these attacks, the attackers either created persistent backdoors through malicious federated domains or encrypted on-prem devices using ransomware like Embargo. The cloud-based attacks, though, now use stolen directory synchronization accounts, DSAs, to enumerate users' roles in Azure resources with tools like Azure Hound. The attackers eventually discovered a global admin account that leaked multi-factor authentication, allowing them to reset its password and gain complete admin control. With these privileges, they established persistence by adding malicious federated domains under their control, enabling them to impersonate almost any user and bypass MFA. So Microsoft says they escalate their access further in Azure by abusing the Microsoft Authorization Elevate Access action, which allowed them to ultimately assign themselves to owner roles, effectively taking over the victim's entire Azure environment. Think of how scary that is. What's in control? Storm 0501 began disabling defenses, stealing sensitive data from Azure storage accounts. The threat actors also attempted to destroy storage snapshots, restore points, recovery services, vaults, and storage accounts to prevent the target from recovering data for free. When they couldn't delete data from recovery services, they utilized cloud-based encryption by creating a new key vault and customer-managed keys, effectively encrypting the data with new keys, making it inaccessible to the company unless they pay a ransom. After stealing the data and destroying the backup or encrypting cloud data, they moved to the extortion phase, contacting victims through Teams, using compromised accounts to deliver ransom demands. So Microsoft has shared protection advice, Microsoft Defender XDR detection, and hunting queries that can help find and detect these tactics by these threat actors. Sorry, we're going over here, but if you're a Sangoma PBX customer, the free PBX 0-day vulnerabilities impacting the admin control panel that is exposed to the internet. The free PBX is a platform built on top of Asterisk used for VoIP businesses, call centers, and service providers to manage voice communications and so forth. You want to make sure you get that patched up. The U.S. sanctioning a Russian national and a Chinese company over the North Korea IT worker scheme. OFAC is sanctioning Vitaly Sergeyevsky Andreev and Kim Yong-sun and two companies, Xinjiang Network Technology and Korea Syngin Trading Corporation, over this IT worker scam. So there's that. And remember, they met in Tokyo on Tuesday to talk about this. Also, CrowdStrike announcing plans to acquire Onum, a Spanish startup that provides real-time telemetry, pipeline technology. The cybersecurity giant says the acquisition will bring valuable technology to enhance CrowdStrike's next-generation SIM. So Onum, based out of Spain, is now getting acquired. They raised around $40 million in funding. The value of the terms of the deal were not disclosed, but the acquisition is reportedly valued at around $290 million. Congratulations. That's it for our show today. We'll be back on Monday, 9 a.m. Eastern, live with all the latest and greatest. Tomorrow, we'll be releasing our weekly summary, so go check that out exclusively at cyberhubpodcast.com and the CyberHub Podcast LinkedIn page. Those are the only two places you'll find it. Thank you all for tuning in. Have a great weekend. Have a great rest of your week. And then Monday, obviously, Labor Day, we'll still have a show on Monday. And most importantly, y'all, stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.